It started as a petty irritation and ended as one of the most satisfying lessons the HOA ever learned. For weeks, my ranch mailbox, an old cast-iron postbox I'd restored myself, had been getting knocked over, dented, or outright smashed. At first, I thought it was kids being stupid, but after I replaced it for the third time and installed a motion-activated camera, I found the real culprits, the so-called HOA security patrol. Karen, the ever-arrogant president, had appointed her son and 2 of his buddies as unofficial officers, complete with fake badges and flashing lights on their SUVs. Every night, they drove around acting like law enforcement, handing out citations for imaginary violations and generally harassing anyone they didn't like. The footage was all the proof I needed. 3 men in an SUV with HOA stickers, laughing as they floored it straight into my mailbox before speeding off into the night. When I showed the video to Karen, she didn't even flinch. "You shouldn't have put your mailbox so close to the road," she said flatly. "It's a safety hazard." My patience snapped right there. "It's 15 feet off the pavement, Karen," I said. "Your officers destroyed private property." She smirked. "You can file a complaint if you like." So I did, but not the kind she expected. I started by filing a report with the county sheriff, complete with the video footage and timestamps. The deputy who came out to review it recognized one of the fake badges immediately. It had been copied from a real county design. "That's impersonation of an officer," he said. "Serious charge." He told me not to confront them yet and to let him handle it. But I had another idea brewing. I rebuilt my mailbox again. But this time it wasn't just decorative. I used a reinforced steel core encased in a concrete base sunk 3 feet deep into the ground, hidden inside a decorative wooden shell that looked ordinary at a glance. It wasn't a trap. It was perfectly legal and built to federal specifications, but it was sturdy enough to stop a truck dead. Then I waited. Sure enough, 3 nights later, the familiar rumble of tires came down the road. My camera caught them lining up their shot, headlights blazing, the driver revving the engine like a teenager in a demolition derby. The SUV slammed into the mailbox with a sickening crunch and stopped instantly. The front end crumpled, the airbag deployed, and the 3 officers stumbled out, cursing and groaning. I called 911, and within minutes, 2 real sheriff's cruisers arrived. The deputies took one look at the wrecked SUV, then at my untouched mailbox, and burst out laughing. "Guess the mailbox won this one," one said. When they realized who the driver was, Karen's son, the laughter turned to something colder. They cuffed him on the spot for reckless driving and impersonating a police officer. Karen showed up 15 minutes later, hair disheveled, robe flapping, shouting about how this was private HOA business. The deputy held up the fake badge they'd confiscated and said, "Ma'am, your son's in a lot of trouble. This isn't HOA business, it's criminal." She turned to me, fury and embarrassment mixing on her face. "You set this up," she hissed. "You built that mailbox to cause an accident." I kept my voice calm. "No, Karen, I built it to last. Your son caused the accident when he decided to ram private property." The deputies loaded her son into the cruiser, and as they drove away, she stood there shaking, probably realizing just how far out of her depth she'd gone. The next morning, the story spread like wildfire. The HOA security patrol had been exposed for what it really was, vigilante nonsense. Several homeowners came forward with stories of harassment, illegal fines, even trespassing. By the end of the week, the county ordered the HOA to disband its so-called security team and issued fines for unauthorized vehicle lighting and impersonation of law enforcement. Karen tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, but nobody was buying it. The sight of her son's wrecked SUV being towed through the neighborhood said it all. A few months later, the HOA had all but collapsed. Most of the board members resigned, unwilling to be associated with Karen's mess. My mailbox still stands exactly where it was, not a scratch on it. Every time I walk past it, I can't help but smile at the memory of those flashing blue lights fading into the distance while the real cops laughed. In the end, I didn't need revenge. The truth and a little bit of good engineering did the work for me. Karen learned that night that when you try to bully someone on their own property, The laws you ignore have a way of reminding you who's really in charge. And as for that mailbox, it became a bit of a legend around here. Folks started calling it the Iron Wall, a monument to the day the HOA's fake cops finally met something they couldn't push around.